If Göbekli Tepe is truly what it appears to be, then one question refuses to go away. Where are the metal tools? Where is the writing? Where is any clear trace of the civilization that built it? Because what stands there should not exist. 12,000 years ago, before farming, before cities, before the invention of metal, someone carved, transported, and raised stone pillars weighing up to 50 tons. Not roughly shaped stones, but carefully planned structures with symmetry, proportion, and purpose. That's over 6,000 years before Stonehenge. And yet, no written record explains how it was done. For decades, Göbekli Tepe has been treated as a mystery. But in 2025, something changed. New scans, deeper than anything before, began to reveal a hidden layer of truth, one that doesn't just answer questions. It raises far more unsettling ones. Because the more we uncover, the clearer it becomes, this was not primitive work. This was engineering. The hill that was built for years, archaeologists believed a simple story. Hunter-gatherers found a natural hill, and built on top of it. It made sense. Find a high point, carve pillars, gather for ritual. But the latest 3D scans tell a very different story. The hill wasn't found. It was made. Using high-resolution LiDAR and ground-penetrating radar, researchers mapped the entire site, down to the centimeter. What they expected to find was natural limestone formation. What they found instead were straight lines. Flat surfaces. Sharp-edged terraces carved directly into bedrock. Beneath the soil, wide platforms appeared, perfectly aligned with the enclosures above them. These weren't natural formations. They were constructed foundations. Before a single pillar was raised, the builders had already reshaped the land itself. Even more surprising were shallow channels carved into the rock, running along precise angles. These weren't random grooves. They were drainage systems, designed to redirect rainwater, to prevent erosion, to stabilize the ground. Whoever built this site didn't just carve stone. They engineered the environment. The hidden blueprints, but the real breakthrough came when researchers zoomed in even further. Microscans of the bedrock revealed something almost invisible to the naked eye, faint lines etched into stone. At first, they looked accidental. Until patterns began to emerge. Straight edges. Right angles. Repeated grids. These weren't scratches. They were drawings. Full-scale outlines of the pillars, etched directly into the ground. Rectangles marking the crossbars. Lines showing where shafts would taper. Guides for placement and spacing. It was a blueprint system. Not abstract, but physical. The builders didn't guess the shape of each pillar. They followed pre-drawn plans carved into the bedrock itself. This changes everything. Because it means the pillars weren't individual works of artistic intuition. They were standardized products of a planned design system. Anyone trained to read those lines could reproduce the same shape, again and again. Consistency wasn't coincidence. It was intentional. The method behind the stone. Once the planning was understood, researchers turned to the quarries. How were these massive stones actually carved? The answer wasn't brute force. It was process. Step by step, the evidence revealed a repeatable method. First, workers outlined the top of the pillar, a shallow trench marking the T-shape. Then they deepened the cuts gradually, freeing the form layer by layer. Next came vertical channels carved along both sides. These channels acted as guides, but also as stress control points, preventing the stone from cracking unpredictably. After that, the bulk of the material was removed between these channels. Only then came refinement, smoothing edges, shaping details, finishing surfaces. But there was one more element. Something unexpected. Heat. Microfracture patterns showed clear signs of thermal shock. The builders likely used fire to heat the stone, then rapidly cooled it with water. The result? Controlled cracking. Cleaner breaks. Less effort. Greater precision. They weren't just carving stone. They were manipulating physics. Moving the impossible even if you can shape a 50-ton pillar. How do you move it? For years, theories suggested dragging stones across open ground using ropes. But there was a problem. The pillars don't show the expected damage. Their bases aren't heavily scarred. So how were they transported? The answer was buried beneath the soil. Ground-penetrating radar revealed long, narrow channels carved into the bedrock, stretching from quarries to enclosures. These weren't random cuts. They were lanes. Uniform in width and depth. Continuous. Purpose-built. The pillars weren't dragged freely. They were guided. Sliding within these carved tracks, like rails. The channel walls absorbed friction, protecting the stone. Soil compression patterns revealed repeated pressure points, evidence of teams pulling from fixed positions in coordinated stages. This wasn't chaos. It was choreography. A system designed to control weight, direction, and risk. Raising the giants, but one challenge remained. How do you lift a multi-ton pillar into a perfect vertical position, without machinery? The answer lay in the sockets themselves. 3D scans revealed something critical: each socket had a sloped entry trench. A ramp. Instead of lifting pillars straight up, builders first slid them horizontally into position. Then came the turning. Ropes were attached. Counterweights were positioned behind the structure. As weight shifted, the pillar pivoted upward, guided by the ramp. Slow. Controlled. Predictable. Finally, the base settled into place on a bed of compacted stone chips, absorbing impact and preventing damage. Slide. Pivot. Cushion. A complete lifting system. Not guesswork. Engineering. The human touch up close, the carvings tell a different story. Not perfection. But people. Microsurface scans revealed distinct carving styles, different hands at work. Some strokes were deep and forceful. Others were fine and careful. This suggests specialization. Rough cutters shaped the stone. Detail artists carved animals. Finishers polished surfaces. An assembly line of skill. Even more revealing were hidden corrections. Beneath finished carvings, researchers found abandoned outlines, earlier designs that had been changed or erased. Mistakes. Revisions. Decisions. This wasn't flawless execution. It was a creative process. Human, imperfect, evolving. The master template, and then came the most important discovery of all. Deep beneath the site, in an unexcavated layer, researchers found a pillar unlike the others. It wasn't decorated. It wasn't finished. Instead, it was covered in markings, guidelines, ratios, measurement notches. This was no monument. It was a template. A full-scale reference model. A standard. When compared to pillars across the site, the match was undeniable. Proportions repeated with precision. Ratios remained consistent across different enclosures and time periods. This single pillar acted as a rule book. A teaching tool. A system for maintaining uniformity across generations. What it all means, Göbekli Tepe is no longer just a mystery. It's evidence. Evidence that organized planning, standardization, and engineering existed far earlier than we believed. These builders shaped landscapes, designed blueprints, controlled material behavior, coordinated large teams, and maintained architectural standards, all without writing. All without metal tools. All 12,000 years ago. This doesn't just challenge what we know. It forces us to rethink what humans were capable of, long before civilization, as we define it, began. Because Göbekli Tepe isn't just a site. It's a message. From a past we don't fully understand. And maybe we're only just beginning to read it.